What's up guys? If you guys are concerned about your upcoming travel plans, you're not alone. I recently planned a trip to go to Vegas for the weekend. And recently there was a confirmed coronavirus case over there, so this led to cancellations in conferences and events. Even MGM and other casinos are shutting down their buffets. I imagine if my travel plans can be affected, there must be a bunch of people out there who are in the same situation. With the spread of the coronavirus, there's been multiple travel warnings and restrictions, which may cause you to rethink or cancel your upcoming trip. So if you already purchased travel tickets or traveling events with a credit card that offers trip cancellation and interruption insurance, you may be covered under certain conditions. The key word here is covered conditions. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly if you're covered or not and what you can do to protect your trip. Alright, so let's dig right into it. So here are some cards that offer trip cancellation and interruption insurance. The majority of these credit cards are usually the cards that have annual fees. The Chase Sapphire Reserve, the Chase Sapphire Preferred, the Chase Ink Business Preferred, the American Express Platinum Card, Hilton Honors Expired Card, and there's a bunch of others as well. So just double check with your credit card issuer to see if you have this benefit with your card. Currently, most people are probably asking, will my credit card travel insurance cover any cancellations or restrictions caused by the coronavirus? And to really answer this, it really depends. The biggest thing that you have to think about is whether you chose to cancel the trip or you had no control over the decision and the choice was already made for you. Most credit card travel insurance has a bunch of limitations in the fine print when it comes to what is and what is not covered. From what I've found, in most cases, travel insurance only covers prepaid, non-refundable travel expenses included in any other passenger's tickets, tours, and hotel stays. These travel expenses will be the only ones that are covered in the full amount if you purchase it with the credit card that has this type of insurance. So this is directly coming from the Chase website. In particular, this is regarding the Chase Sapphire Preferred credit card. Some examples are accidental bodily injury, loss of life, a sickness experienced by the cardholder, a traveling companion or immediate family member of the cardholder, or a traveling companion. So this basically means in any instance that you get injured or sick either by you or any type of family member or anybody who's traveling with you, you are covered under this type of protection. Another thing that's covered is cancellations due to severe weather, which prevents you from the start or the continuation of your covered trip. So for example, if you're traveling to Southeast Asia during monsoon season, this will be a case of severe weather that prevents you from traveling there since it's pretty freaking dangerous. Unfortunately, in the case of the coronavirus pandemic, this does not apply. Another thing that is covered is terrorist action or hijacking. So this is pretty self-explanatory, so I'm not going to dig any deeper into this, so let's move on. What is also covered is jury duty or a court subpoena that you cannot postpone or waive. So if you have jury duty that you cannot change the date, this insurance will cover you for that. So maybe jury duty is not so bad after all. But if you're worried about traveling for the fear of contracting the coronavirus and you chose to cancel or change your trip, your chances are very slim on your credit card actually giving you a reimbursement. So now let's talk about what is actually being covered by credit card travel insurance in the case of the coronavirus. So according to the credit card benefits for the Chase Sapphire Reserve, in the case of a quarantine of you or a traveling companion imposed by a physician or a competent governmental authority having jurisdiction due to health reasons. So in layman's terms, if you currently have an illness like you already contracted the coronavirus already, in this case, I'm almost 100% sure that a physician will tell you not to travel. So if this is the case, you can be reimbursed. I'm not sure if you guys saw in the news, but the president had recently restricted any oncoming travel coming to the United States from Europe for the next 30 days. But what made it confusing is that it does not apply to US citizens. But in the case, if this does happen and it applies to everyone including US citizens, then you have a pretty good chance of getting a reimbursement. But even if this did happen to you, the vacation probably turned into a nightmare and getting a ticket refund may be the least of your worries. But in the event if you are stuck overseas on a round trip flight, you will most likely be able to get trip delay protection. Most credit cards that I mentioned earlier will provide this, but they usually require a delay of anywhere between 6 to 12 hours. But the thing about trip delay protection is that the majority of these cards will give you a maximum coverage amount of $500 per ticket. So depending on where you travel to, $500 may be difficult to survive off of for an extended period of time. Sorry, I know I got a little bit off track, but let's get back to trip cancellation protection. This is where I see trip cancellation insurance gets kind of messy. So let's imagine if you're someone who has an autoimmune disease or if you have a weakened immune system. According to the Chase Sapphire Preferred card benefits, what is not covered is any pre-existing condition. So what is my main concern here is that if you have a weakened immune system and you have a doctor's note not to travel, Will this be covered or not? I couldn't find this anywhere on the internet about this issue. But these are my own personal thoughts, so just take it with a grain of salt, because when it comes down to it, it's really up to the credit card companies whether or not they want to reimburse you. I imagine if you have a pre-existing condition and you were able to travel freely before, but since there is a higher risk due to this whole coronavirus thing going on, you can go to your doctor and have them write a doctor's note advising you not to travel, and I think you may be able to get covered. Because since you are being restricted from travel because of doctor's orders, that's probably why I think you will be covered. As a reminder, this is just my own personal thoughts, and I'm not sure if this will work or not, so just be aware of that. Aside from trip cancellation or interruption services that your credit card provides, there may be other ways to get reimbursed for travel cancellation. So currently with this whole virus outbreak, we really don't know how this whole situation is going to turn out. There are many airlines out there that currently try to provide waivers or travel credit or possibly allow you to reschedule your flights. I know we've been talking a lot about flights, but what about concerts or events that you plan to go to? The entertainment industry has also responded to the current coronavirus outbreak as well. Some major events such as South by Southwest, Ultra Music Festival, and many concerts have been canceled or postponed to a later date. So if you're wondering if trip cancellation covered this type of events, it may be a little bit more trickier than airfare. According to the South by Southwest website, South by Southwest does not issue refunds under any circumstances. Any and all payments made to South by Southwest are not refundable for any reason, including without limitation, failure to use credentials due to illness, acts of God, travel-related problems, acts of terrorism, loss of employment, and or duplicate purchases. In other words, you're screwed. So if you're planning to go on any type of concert or any type of event, this is what you need to know. Credit card trip cancellation insurance only kicks in when you're sick. It doesn't apply if your travel is canceled due to a threat of this type of pandemic. So for any event or concert that you already prepaid for, and if that event organizer cancels, you're pretty much SOL. So now let's move on to something a little bit different. Now let's just say that you book a vacation on a cruise. Being on a cruise nowadays, especially from what you see on the news about quarantines, there's not that much good light on this. Each cruise lines have different responses to trip refunds, but many of them are pretty lenient about their cancellations. Based on what I found, for major cruises such as Norwegian, Carnival, Royal Caribbean, and Disney Cruise Lines, it seems like if you book your cruise that departs before a certain date, let's just say May 31st, and you cancel your cruise anywhere between 24 to 72 hours prior, you can do that without a penalty. So if any of you guys already booked a cruise, just double check with the cruise line to know when you can cancel to receive a full refund. I think this type of situation, when you're going directly to the cruise lines for refunds, it may be a simpler option compared to going through your credit card. Because it seems like travel insurance requires a lot of hoops that you have to go through just to get that reimbursement. All you have to do with a cruise line is just cancel between 24 and 72 hours prior just to get a full refund. But now let's say that there's a trip that you have been planning, maybe like a best friend's wedding or somewhere that you have to be, but you haven't booked it yet. It may be in your best interest to think about buying travel insurance that has cancel for any reason coverage. Typically with this type of coverage, they reimburse a portion of your prepaid and non-refundable trip costs anywhere between 50 to 75%. Keep in mind that most of the time, you have to purchase this type of coverage within a certain time frame of your trip's payment. So say for example, you plan a vacation in June, but you booked it in March. You probably won't be able to purchase cancel for any reason coverage in the month of June. Also keep in mind that this type of coverage usually does not allow for last minute cancellations because most of the time you have to cancel 48 hours or more before your trip. Even though with this type of insurance, it doesn't give you a 100% refund, but it is nice to know to possibly get some of that money back. So currently with this whole situation that's going on, I'm in no shape or form qualified to tell you whether or not to travel. But what I am qualified to tell you is the use of hand hygiene. I am a registered nurse, so I know a little bit about standard precautions. Alright guys, so that does it for me. Hopefully you found some value from this video. It would be much appreciated if you would give this video a like, because that would really help out the channel. If you want to learn more about credit cards and personal finance, come hang out with me some more over here.